Listened to this album quite a few times at this point. I think I could formulate an opinion on it to some degree, some kind of constructive opinion. I've given it quite a few, like, active, like, attentive, and, you know, detailed listen. Like, again, I don't know, you know what I mean? But yeah, like, so I'm not really doing anything today, and I figured I should do something. I feel like I'm being lazy. I should probably do some shit. I'm gonna make this video. Fuck it. Mac Miller's Swimming. New album. His last album was The Divine Feminine, which I did not enjoy at all. Good AM was alright. I didn't mind that one too much. That was cool. Had a few decent songs. Mac Miller just typically is not interesting though. As a rapper, he's not really like technical or anything like that. You know, nothing about his ability as an MC is ever really impressive or anything like that. His character that he's often portraying is pretty laid back, kind of, you know, druggy. You know, he often talks about like weed and shit. He sort of shoots for that kind of like chill, relatable guy kind of aesthetic sort of thing. And it never really has ever pricked my ears up like that before, personally, so I wasn't really like hyped for this album or anything like that. You know, it was coming out, I was like, alright, cool, I'll listen to it. And yeah, look, okay, I will definitely give credit. I think this album's really, it has a really like languid and vulnerable feel to it from beginning to end. It's really slow-paced, really introspective. Lyrically, we're seeing Mac Miller reflect pretty personally on himself, on how fame has affected his life and the people around him, how substance abuse has had him crumble to the bottom of the barrel on some of these tracks. It's pretty personal. It's pretty painful. It's a very wounded album for sure. I definitely think this album has sort of a therapeutic feel to it in that the instrumentals are never really going for anything too exciting in like a massively bombastic way. You know, the beats here are pretty jazzy, pretty smooth, low-key, lo-fi a lot of the time too. A lot of guitars and pianos and horns, you know, live instrumentation, shit like that, some soft percussion. Don't expect any like trap bangers or nothing like that. Like, this is a really patient album. The beats on this thing kind of remind me of something that you would catch on a J. Cole album, which is interesting because J. Cole produced one of the songs here. I think it was Hurt Feelings. So yeah, if that is a sound that interests you, that appeals to you, then yeah, don't hesitate to check this thing out. I think musically it will be your cup of tea, but for me, nothing about this album from a musical instrumental standpoint at any point ever excited me at all. It was really boring and really drab to me. I think he played it super safe with the beats here. The most exciting beat on this album to me was probably Confessions Part 1. It had a pretty interesting kind of groove to it. I thought Mac Miller's laid back flow and delivery fit that kind of woozy instrumental pretty nicely. I like how that particular song, it seemed to be all about like the idea of taking action, like not just having these ideas in your dreams just be conversations, like actually like go out and pursue them and do them, which was cool. And yeah, I thought a combination of just the kind of woozy, intoxicating beat, which apparently I think Flying Lotus actually helped with, which is interesting. So that combined with Mac Miller's just kind of cocky in a way, sort of laid back flow, and the subject matter, I thought all made for a pretty enjoyable song for me. I thought Self-Care was decent. There was a beat switch on that one. The beat had this kind of catchy little vocal sample thing going on, which I thought was alright. Ladders was okay. Ladders and What's the Use were both produced by this guy named Pomo, who I reviewed actually on Sloth Windowcrest. And yeah, the song What's the Use is one of the most pathetic attempts at like a groovy, funky rap song. Mac Miller does not sound comfortable remotely, and he sings so much on this album too. And Mac Miller is a singer, not a fan. I think he's a dreadful singer. He sounds so fucking bad, in my opinion. His voice just sucks. I enjoyed his singing on the first track though. The first track genuinely felt really emotive and passionate. You know, I like those lyrics he had about, you know, how the sun doesn't feel right when you're inside all day. He just wants to get out of his own head, just instantly presenting us with this more vulnerable character, which I thought was quite, you know, bold and interesting. I was like, okay, cool, so we're going to get a more introspective and hurt Mac Miller this time around. But yeah, musically, this thing never did anything interesting or creative to me. You know, Small Worlds is one of the most boring fucking beats on this thing, man. Really did not care for that beat, and his singing on that track is just, oh. The way he like elongates the smile is just a bit grating. Don't really care for that. Song Jet Fuel, we have Mac Miller talking about his drug use, how he's talking about how drugs are sort of his main method of escapism, you know, from the world's bullshit and all that. Jet fuel being a metaphor for drugs. In this case, 2009 wasn't too bad either, I guess. That track was fine. You know, we see him reflecting on where he was in 2009, which is like just around the time he was, you know, blowing up, or right before he blew up as a rapper and got, you know, popular in a fan base and shit. And we see him make parallels towards how his life was then, how it was now. The final track, lyrically, had a cool idea. The song So It Goes. I liked how this song sort of depicted the cycle of being on the highest high when you're successful as a rapper, but then hitting your lowest low, how loneliness is something that a lot of successful people deal with. I think Small Worlds touched on that too, the way he said, like, no one really knows me, but it's hard to complain in this 5-star hotel. Like the loneliness of success is something that seems to be really affecting Mac Miller on this album. That's one thing I could pick up. But yeah, like, it's a combination of the completely drab instrumentation and Mac Miller's total refusal to actually be engaging as a rapper that stopped me from enjoying this album at all. You know, I definitely appreciate how transparent Mac Miller is on this album lyrically. But yeah, as a listening experience, this thing wasn't enjoyable. This thing wasn't interesting to me. Overall, I'm feeling a 5 out of 10. If maybe he just picked some more interesting beats, maybe gave some more interesting performances, if he maybe just sort of approached it in just a more creative way or something, then it would have maybe grabbed me more. But whilst I do appreciate the introspection, it's nothing I can personally really connect to, nothing I really see myself coming back to. It was nice, it was kind of therapeutic at points, but overall, yeah, this didn't really leave much of a mark or resonate with me like that, so I'm gonna give it a 5. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling about Swimming by Mac Miller. Thanks for watching my review. I'll see you later. Bye!